Peace, my beautiful family. Welcome to the Omo Show. I'm Omo, the Afrocentric creatrix, here to raise the vibrations of the entire Black nation. And as you can see, I'm going to be talking about some African spirituality today. And I was going to try to rhyme, but hey, I can't do it all the time. You say, ha! I did it that time, but I'm going to just stop with all the rhymes. All right? Sunshine. Shout out to Oshun for these Oshun shirts. If y'all don't know the group Oshun, first off, get on. That's number one. Second, they got a website called the Oshuniverse.com, and they're selling these shirts. It's a way to label or market themselves, but you know, if you think about the group within itself, the fact that they named themselves Oshun, which is an African Orisha, you know, this is already, and those people who like their music and say that they don't know anything about the Orishas, you buy an Oshun shirt to support Oshun the group, you're also supporting Oshun the Orisha without even realizing it. So either way, I love Oshun the group, I love Oshun the Orisha, of course, but I love Oshun the group just because they subconsciously place African spirituality back into the minds of African bodies and people in general, which has so much to do with why I'm making this video today. And I wonder if that's why I'm thought to make the video today, because I had this shirt on and you know, because of what they stand for, me believing that that's somehow revolved around my own purpose. But you know, spirit is never wrong, so maybe it is because I wear this shirt that I thought about this idea. But regardless, one thing I realized is that I have videos on why I lost my religion. I have a video on my conscious, quote-unquote, journey. I even have a video on how Black power relates to Black spirituality or African spirituality. But I never came to y'all to talk about how I fell in love with, or why I fell in love with, African spirituality, including Ifa and Vodún and Yoruba, or Santeria, whatever words people want to place on African spirituality. I never talked about why I fell in love with it or how I fell in love with it. And now in my journey, I'm realizing that for my destiny, a part of my purpose is only to share my experiences, and praying or hoping or with the intention of my experiences being a way that people can learn and grow and understand more about themselves, about us, about the world, you know. So here I am to share my own journey or my own story. Of course, because we talking about spirituality, and those who watch my channel, y'all know how big I am on this topic, or how important it is to me, and the fact that you're watching this video, maybe spirituality is important for you too. So of course we can't constrain this to a little amount of time. So who knows how long this video gonna take, but I'm about to tell you a little bit more about my journey, how I got into, how I knew that Vodún, how I knew that Ifa was the way for me. So starting off, a lot of people know I studied African studies while I was in undergrad. I was taking classes my junior year in undergrad that were African studies classes that brought up the point that, you know, Christianity wasn't the religion that most Africans had when they were coming over here. So that made me start questioning a lot about what I grew up to believe. I had a mentor on campus. Love her to this day, Miss Beth, Mama Beth, I love you. Mama Beth James, yes, I love you. But regardless, with that being said, I went to her just letting her know how I was conflicted on my religion, and how I started to question my own religion and what I grew up believing now that I was in these classes. And it was her who told me, you know, she was from New Orleans and her grandmother practiced Vodún, and she inherently practiced it too growing up, but didn't know that that's what she was doing until she became in her older years and realized that it wasn't what all Black folks were practicing everywhere. Given she was from New Orleans, it was a little bit, especially the time that she was growing up, it was a little bit more likely or understandable to see people knowing the information and knowing the practices that she was doing. So with that, she's the one who told me that within African spirituality, there there isn't a limit to what it is that you could believe in. You know, she said that she grew up as a practitioner of Vodún, but she also, you know, was a Catholic. And she told me about how within African spirituality in general, it has that flexibility of what you believe in, and also how you practice. Because Vodún, what I've learned more and more as I read about African spirituality, Vodún, Yoruba, Ifa, everything that you practice, first off, may look different from place to place, given the resources of that place, given the history of that place, given just your own knowledge or understanding of different things. And just because people are practicing it different ways does not mean that it's wrong or that it's right. Within Vodún, everything that I've learned, at least in my own journey, I, especially as a beginner, started off with the understanding that it was about intention. You know, magic is about intention. It's not about doing something right or wrong. It's more so about the energy that you place into what it is that you're doing. The thoughts that you have while you're doing what you're doing. And I love that about it. You know, that was the first point for me, to know that it was flexible in what it is that I could believe in, and also flexible in how I chose to practice. That just made it so worthwhile for me. That was unlike anything I ever heard of before, you know? So that was number one, flexibility of the practice and the beliefs. 2, the reverence of nature. The fact that there's this aspect of respecting nature in the religion or in the spiritual practices of Africanness. You know, whether that be you talking about the orishas and how every orisha is aligned or symbolic or reflected within a specific energy that is in nature, like how Oshun is the lakes and the rivers, how Yemaya is the seas and the oceans, you know, and by having higher powers or deities, if that's what people want to call them, by having those things that are embedded in nature, is going to make a practitioner of this practice respect nature more. Because instead of thinking about a lake is just a lake, you know, when you're coming to the lake, you know, you ain't gonna just throw something up in there that doesn't belong just because you thinking this is just a lake on the earth. You're going, if you believe that this is Oshun, if you believe that the lake is Oshun, and you respect Oshun, then you're gonna want to respect the lakes. You're gonna want to make sure that whatever you're putting into the lakes is something that's pure, something that she will actually love, something that is not going to harm nature. So that is something that is outside anything that I've ever learned in any religion, really, outside of African spirituality. The idea that nature is the utmost importance when it comes to religion, the embeddedness of nature. It's not a matter of a commandment, respect nature. It just is. It's a point. It's a way of life. To respect nature is a way of life within African spirituality, within Ifa, within Vodún, which I love. So the next points, also around that too, because I know that people who have some type of basis of knowledge might know that there might be animal sacrifices or offerings that are made, you know, in specific situations within African spirituality. And I wanted to just say something about that point. First off, I'm not a priest or a priestess or anything, so I can't give you this higher form of knowledge around it. But what I can say is that when we do that, or when people do that within this spirituality, the way it's supposed to be. I can't say the way it's practiced every time because I haven't seen it practiced all the time. But there is a respect for the animals. There is a whole ritual just around your connection to the animal before that's even a situation that you're in. It's still, even with sacrifice, even with the offering of an animal, you are still understanding that this life is precious. There is this consciousness in this life that is already in the understanding within Vodún. So sacrifices, offerings, all of that, how people feel about it, whatever. Like, you can feel however you feel, but I'm just letting you know that even within those practices, there's still a respect for nature. There's still a respect for animals. There's still the understanding that we are all connected beings. Not that, how I learned in Christianity, that man governs over this entire planet and can do whatever they want with it, but that we are all connected beings that belong to one God, you know. Moving on, point 3 is that the representations, the orishas, or in the way that they're represented, at least once we start getting back to it in its original form, look like me. You know, unlike Jesus. And I'm not saying that Jesus wasn't a black man, because honestly, for me, I believe that if he ever lived, he was. Period. Duh, he was a black man. But the way that religion a lot of times have made these earlier prophets look is not how they actually looked. So that image gets constantly embedded into the brains of people who don't look like that Eurocentric image. Thus, you're not seeing God in you, you're seeing it as something on the outside. And for black folks who say, no, I believe Jesus is black too. Okay, I get you. But the fact that the religion itself, Christianity itself, the fact that I can see an image of what's supposed to be white Jesus and know for a fact that is supposed to be Jesus, that's the problem. The fact that if I saw a black man dressed in the same way as that's supposed to be white Jesus in a framed picture, right? Is everyone in the world automatically gonna assume that that's Jesus? No. He has to be the white man with those same features to be Jesus. Thus, this isn't a knock at Christianity that is practiced in a way of being Afrocentric. What it is just a way of what I grew up knowing. The fact that there was a white Jesus hanging up in my stepmom's house, that's a problem. You feel me? Like, so what I love about African spirituality is right from the beginning, I learned of them as being African deities. I learned them as being for African people. I learned that Yemiya was the ocean and that she is who we pray to and who we thank for just protecting us during the transatlantic slave trade. The fact that there were energies that were meant for me and my protection and who love me as an African body, you know, and all my Africanness, because they were the same. That hit me hard, period. You know, the fact that, anyway, that goes into the fact that they are representations of us, or they're our representatives as African people. And, you know, you will learn more that they're representatives for all people, but regardless, the fact that they come from Africa, meaning that there is this special connection of Africans to these orishas. This is why you can use African spirituality to call up the power that you need to in situations where you might be oppressed. Oshun and Yemiya don't like their children being oppressed. You know, Oshun, she got that energy, that fire, that her children being oppressed is like, oh, hell no, you ain't finna be messing with my damn kids. So think of how within the Haitian Revolution, them using Vodún in order to liberate black people, being the only diasporic Africans to ever become liberated in such a way, like through revolution, was these Haitians who were practicing Haitian Vodún. With that, that's because the African orishas, or the orishas, represent Africa. They represent us. They are there for us. They are there to protect us, for us to call on to get out of certain circumstances, which will go into a next point that I'm going to talk about further down the line. The fact that, so like I say, the third point is the fact that the representations of the African orishas or African spirituality in general look like me. No matter what African spiritual practice you're going to go into, you're going to see black faces, you know, that look like me, thus being there to serve me, you know, at least That's how my brain reckons with it. So 4th point, I talk about this a lot. The fact that African spirituality actually acknowledges, respects, holds dear to our ancestors. The fact that no other religion that I've experienced, there was this ultimate need of acknowledging your ancestors. I mean, I ain't gonna say that, there aren't people who practice religions or other religions who believe in their ancestors, but what I'm saying is that religion itself does not make a space where that is a necessity. And within African spirituality, it's clear as day. You ain't going nowhere. You ain't talking to nobody. You ain't doing nothing without your ancestors. Period, point blank. Those are the people who came right before you. They are legit your strongest and most direct connection to the other side, because they're your bloodline and they're the only ones living on the other side or in the spiritual world. Thus, if you're trying to connect with the spiritual energies of anything, you ain't going nowhere without your ancestors. You gotta go with your ancestors. You gotta thank your ancestors. You gotta pay homage to your ancestors. And I love that. And also your elders. This is a spirituality, especially the fact that it's been taken away from us. It is a practice. African spirituality is something that many of us need to learn from someone else, because it's not something that's just embedded in our culture anymore. Thus, there's this humbleness. There's this sense of humility that needs to come over any African body that is choosing to come this route. Just because you don't know everything. Books surely ain't gonna teach you half of what the knowledge is that you need to learn orally, as Africans have always done historically, from a source of knowledge, like a Baba, like a Iya, like, any spiritual teacher that you have, a priest, a priestess, whatever. Like, you need to learn from these people, and in order to learn the best from these people, you need to humble yourself enough, show enough humility of your lack of knowledge, so that they can actually feel gracious enough to give you what it is that will make you your best version. So like I say, I love that it's this respect for our ancestors, but also the respect for elders, which I feel like our community really needs both, especially the way we're going right now. We ain't really been respecting the elders like that. We believe that they don't have anything to offer us. And in this religion, you ain't gonna know nothing without them. Period. How you gonna learn without your ancestors or without your elders who already done been there, done that? You ain't. So, moving on. It teaches good character rather than law. That's my 5th point about it. Different religions might have an actual law, like commandments. They might have actual I don't know the terms and stuff for Christians, different sins and shit like that, right? Within African spirituality, it's not like that. You don't have a set, thou should not kill, thou should not do this, thou should not commit adultery, thou should not blah, blah, blah. It's not like that. What it is it's based on, instead of it being like a law of a state, it's based on universal law, where universal law is based in karma, where if you do X, Y, and Z, be ready for X, Y, and Z to come onto you. So if you put good into the world, good will come on back to you. If you put bad into the world, bad will come onto you. If you are addicted to things and that makes you act into a certain way, those type of experiences will come back to you. It's just like that. It's more about the balance in nature. Instead of telling you what you should and should not be doing, it allows you to have governance over your own self with the understanding and the knowing that whatever you choose to do, however you choose to act in this world, it is going to come back to you how it will. Whether you believe that the ancestors or the Orishas or God is why it comes back, or if you believe that it's the universe, universal law, and the law of attraction and blah, 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 it doesn't matter. But the knowing is that if you want to have good, be good. You know, always be committed to making your character the best that it possibly can, so that you can heal past those wounds that you've had throughout your life, so that you can interact with those people in your life better now, and thus you can live the greatest life that you could possibly live. It's based on good character, not anything else. Like, it's always everybody's laws, or everybody and what they need, or what they're going to gain, or what they're going to learn from Vodún or African spirituality, then is going to be different. The things that they have to stop themselves from doing or start doing is going to be different, because it's going to be based off of their own spirits. It's going to be based off of their own character and what they, as human beings living this lifetime, need the most. So that's what I love too, is that I hate set rules, because I don't think that everybody should be going off the same rules. You know, my rules shouldn't be your rules if we got two different personalities. But within this, you know, it's really about, for me, instead of it allows spirit to take over again. You know, I feel like within religion, it was many times that I may have thought that something was okay, but religion would tell me, no, that's not okay. You know, or for instance, let's say being gay, or liking who you like. You know, Bible might say you going to hell, but for me, my spirit doesn't say that. So the religion, African spirituality, these practices are about listening to your spirit. And when you go against your spirit, that's when you're in trouble. That's when trouble occurs. But if you're doing things that your spirit aligns with, you good to go. So that's that. I wanted to say too that it's number 6, the 6th reason that I love it. Y'all, I got hella fucking reasons. So the video, I'm on 6 out of 9. Just for those who want to stop right here. Those who want to continue listening, go ahead. Number 6 is how artistic African spirituality is, how it brings in and incorporates art, and not even brings in, it's embedded in art. Art is embedded in our spiritual practices within it in its original form. And that goes from dance, how dance is used to call on spirit, how music is used to call on spirit, how drums is used to call on spirit, how chants and songs are used to call on spirit, how you decorate your altar, how you might make cards for people who pass before you, how you may make poems for them, how you may make songs for them, all to be offerings for them. You might make them a beautiful piece of, you know, with Oshun being that she loves sunflowers and she loves all things that's beauty, glitz, and glam, you might make her something particularly special just to go on your altar for her and put it in a specific spot to decorate it to look so beautiful so that she can love what she sees when she comes to you. Art. You know, Africans, we live and we thrive with art, you know, whether that be visual, physical, whatever, verbal, we live and thrive off of that. You know what I mean? In every single way. Like, even if we think about Africans, even diasporic Africans, regardless of when we realize it, music, art is a part of our everyday life. And that's why spirituality, African spirituality, is a way of life. You know, it just is, because it incorporates those things that should already have been incorporated into our everyday beings or our everyday lives, you know, including art. You know, moving forward, even prayer is art, because you come up with a prayer, you create a prayer, and every single time it might be different, and it's something that is expressive. It comes from the inside, and it comes from a genuine place to come out, you know. So regardless, moving on, I love how artistic it is. I wanted to also say another point. I didn't write this point down, but it made me think about, from the point about the ancestors and the elders, is that I'll say that my 7th point now would be that in these practices, you don't just call on higher powers when things are going wrong. It's not about praying to make things better. This religion, this African spirituality has nothing to do with fixing your problems. Period. That's not what it's here to do. It's not like, oh shit, like how I feel like many other people in other religions, and I'm not going to say everybody, because of course the ideal way to be is to acknowledge spirit always. And I think that within Vodún, the way it's set up, African spirituality, Ifa, the way it's set up, it makes it easy for you to acknowledge them on the regular rather than only coming when you need something. The fact that you are very highly encouraged to give offerings to the Orishas, to your ancestors, to God, this itself is to say thank you. The fact that an altar is encouraged to be built around your ancestors or Orishas. Like how I talk about in a video, how my aunt who passed away, she loves pear fragrance. The idea of me putting this pear fragrance on my altar to represent her is to thank her. It is not asking her for anything. It is to thank her and to acknowledge her and to say, I know you, I remember you, I am not forgetting about you. And that to me is so important for people to realize how spirituality is not there for when things are going wrong. It's for when things are going right. It's for every time of your life. Just say thank you every day. To say thank you, ancestors, thank you, God, thank you, Orishas, for everything you've done for me. I will say that though I know that this is something that people do within other religions and other places, it became so much easier for me to do that coming into African spirituality just because of the energy of gratefulness that surrounds everything you do. The fact that you are supposed to put gratefulness into everything you do. So that's powerful, y'all. 8th point now, it being a way to take back the control over our lives, the control over my life. I think many times, and I talk about this in another video, a simple way for Africans to take their power back. And I was reading a book, Root Work, at the time, and that's just about root workers and hoodoo and different things. But regardless, so many times, given that we live in oppressive places, many diasporic Africans, and even those who are not diasporic Africans living in Africa, we are an oppressed people, or at least they try their best. And physically, there are hindrances, there are burdens, there are barriers to us moving forward, obstacles to us getting to where we need to be, or at least it may seem that way. And if that is the case, what is it that we can do? What is it? How can we take control over our lives in the ways that we can if we can't do it with money? If we can't do it with guns? If we can't do it with an army or whatever we believe that we might need? How is it that we can make sure that we're staying whole, that we're staying healthy, that we are continuously growing as a people and becoming stronger? That's our African roots. That's our African spirituality. That's a way to control your own circumstances. Instead of thinking that things are outside of you or just praying about it the way African spirituality does, you pray, but you do something. It's always an action piece. There's always action within African spirituality. It's always something that you could be doing to make your life better, period. We not just a praying spiritual thing. That's not what Africans do. We don't just pray. Faith without works is dead. Come on now. So I love that. It being a way for me to take back my power, not just as an African, but as a woman, as a mother, as a teacher, as someone who knows specific parts of my calling, and knowing that African spirituality and me sharing this and me embracing this is only going to magnify these areas of my life, make them better, make them stronger for me and everyone involved. That's power. Lastly, by taking control of our power in African spirituality, meaning to embrace our ancestors, meaning to embrace our elders, meaning to embrace and respect spiritual energies, meaning to respect and embrace nature, to become more holistic in this way, expressing ourselves through art, through our bodies, through our minds. Doing all of this is really, it has more than the potential. It has the capacity to heal the entire planet. We, as African beings, have the capacity to heal the entire planet. We already influence the entire planet how we do, and don't even realize it, how powerful we are and where we stand without our spirituality. You got to understand, first off, not only did we create with our hands what you see today on this world or on this earth, not only that, outside of the God Almighty and creation, but not only that, we create culture for these people. Any music, any slang, any ideas that are cool come from black folks. Let's be real. Any clothes that are cool come from black folks. Let's be real. You know, or any way of wearing clothes, swag, just everything about our essence is power, and it uplifts and it affects the community already as it is, especially diasporic Africans. The influence that we even have in Africa is crazy. So now if you put your spirituality, which includes all these other parts of yourself, which are pure and great and powerful, if you place that onto everything else, if you place not littering or respecting the environment, respecting nature, respecting the animals onto everything else, that's a whole world change. If black people say something ain't cool to do no more, or say it is cool to do something, that's a whole world change. So I just wanted to share that with y'all because I've been on this journey for, still very new on this journey, but it's been a few years now. And with that, I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to go above and beyond. I'm ready to keep growing in my spirituality, keep growing in myself, keep growing in my purpose, keep growing in my destiny, so that I can be a better assistant to myself, but also my entire community, but also the entire planet. And I just thought that this information, giving y'all where I started, where the beginning has taken me, or what it has shown me or brought me, it could help someone else that might be there or might be in a similar position as me. And I will continue to share my journey with y'all as I move forward. This is only the beginning. Understand, acknowledge, recognize. It's only the beginning for you too. So, may we all grow together. May we all become healed. May we all recognize that we have love that exists outside of ourselves, outside of our family, outside of our current circumstances that we can see with the physical eye. May we realize how great and powerful our ancestors, how our Orishas, how our God, our Creator, Oludumare, may we recognize their presence, their love, their protection, their faith, their overall guidance over our lives. And may we continue to thank them, call on them, and just serve them in all the ways that we can for the rest of our lives, for the rest of all eternity. Ashe. Love y'all. Peace.